1987. The Cold War has been taking place for the last 41 years. Proxy wars and continuous investments in warfare on both sides have led to economic suffering in the Soviet Union. Mikhail Gorbachev, General Secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union at the time, was well aware of this and began the democratization of the Soviet Union. While this started a new era, a lot of eyes were still directed at Berlin and its wall that separated the capital into West and East. In a small town next to Hamburg, the 19-year-old Mathias Rust secretly planned to perform a series of flights, ending up right in the center of Moscow. Rust had obtained his flying license a year earlier at the Aero Club of Hamburg and had only logged about 50 hours of flight time. Yet in May of 1987, he rented a Cessna 172 at the Hamburg International Airport to carry out his plan. His first stop happened only minutes after departing. He landed in a local airfield where he illegally removed the back seats of the Cessna, creating room for several auxiliary fuel tanks. He did this because a standard Cessna 172 has a fuel capacity of 43 gallons and a range of 640 miles. This was not enough for him to reach his first destination. He took off, now with additional fuel, and flew to the Faroe Islands, a group of islands in the North Atlantic, northwest of Scotland. He continued his trip and flew to Reykjavik, the capital of Iceland, where, 7 months earlier, Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev held their second summit meeting. He spent a week there and later on said that he saw the trip to Iceland as a test of his piloting skills. Rust continued his trip by flying to Bergen, a city in the west of Norway, and then to Helsinki. And on the 28th of May, he refueled his Cessna and started his illegal flight to Moscow. He informed air traffic controllers that he was going to Stockholm and turned his radio communication off right after takeoff. The controller tried to contact Rust several times but never got a response. There are two types of radars used in commercial aviation: primary and secondary. Secondary radars send out signals which the aircraft's transponder picks up. The transponder then sends back information about altitude, speed, and more. The secondary radar, therefore, relies on the transponder. It doesn't get any information without it. The primary radar, however, sends out waves and then waits for them to reflect off the aircraft and come back. By calculating the time it takes the waves to return, it can determine the position of the aircraft. When Rust turned his transponder off after takeoff, he vanished from the Finnish radar and an emergency was presumed. A rescue team was organized and an underwater search was conducted, all while the 19-year-old was still in the air and headed to Moscow. At 14:29, the Cessna appeared on the Soviet air defense primary radar and was assumed hostile after not responding to any radio calls. Two MiG-23s took off to intercept the hostile Cessna. At 14:48, 19 minutes after appearing on the radar, one of the MiG-23 pilots asked for permission to engage, but was denied. After disappearing and reappearing on the radar several times, Rust's aircraft was mistakenly assigned a friendly status. At around 18:15, after more than 5 hours of flight, he approached Moscow. His initial plan was to land right on top of Red Square, the famous open area right in the heart of Russia's capital. He overflew it several times, trying to get people to make space so that he could land. Soon, though, he realized that people weren't going to move. So instead, he landed on the Moskvoretsky Bridge and taxied to a stop.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.